Hello, Facebook friends. I'm here to talk about today's Y&R for Friday, April 20th, 2012. Today is Friday, so it's always good on Fridays. It starts out with Nikki going to the stables to get ready to ride a horse, and she's on the phone with Victoria, and Victoria's telling her that she shouldn't be riding because it's nighttime, and she says, "Don't worry about me. I'm used to this. I've been doing it for years, so yeah, I'll be fine." Victor's on the phone with Michael. He tells him to come over so they can talk about beauty of nature. When he hangs up the phone, he looks at a picture of Nikki. Michael and Avery are at the athletic club drinking. They've been drinking for 2 or 3 days, and he tells them he has to go because Victor's calling, and they wish each other well with their families. Harmony and Neil are at the coffee house, and she was like, "I thought she would be feeling better after I talked, but it doesn't seem like it." And they talk about how people make mistakes and nobody is perfect. And Lily and Kane show up and said they were going to the Vaughn studio to hear the song. So Harmony and Neil decide to go with them. Ricky and Daisy are at the house coming up with a way to. He said he's got a plan for helping her get custody of Lucy. Daniel, Phyllis, and Lucy are all at Phyllis's house, and they're talking, and Phyllis is playing with Lucy on the floor, and Nick comes, and he said, "Remember we had a date?" And she said she had completely forgot. And Daniel was like, "Well, don't feel bad. Once she's been like this with Lucy since she got here, she hadn't left her sight." But Daniel says, "I have to leave, and I have some things to do, and then I need to take Daisy back to Lucy. I mean, Lucy back to Daisy. I'm sorry." And she says, "Well, why don't you just leave her here?" And he said, "No, that's not a good idea. She could use that against me later in the trial." So they leave. She doesn't feel like going. Phyllis doesn't feel like going out. She tells Nick she just wants to kind of stay in, and he said he'll stay with her. She's like, "Oh, you don't have to do that." And he said, "I'm not asking you. That's what I'm gonna do." Victor and Michael meet up. They talk about beauty of nature. They talk about the financial part that is going to come with it. Victor questions how Jen got the money, and that they hope it wasn't from, Collins, her ex-husband's money, because that would look bad for them against the SEC. Michael asks about Nikki. He said, "How's Nikki?" And he said, "She doesn't live here anymore." And he says, "Well, I saw a car outside." And he said, "Hmm." So when Michael left, Victor got on the phone with, I guess, security or whatever, and he said he wanted to know where Nikki was on the property, whereabouts she was. Um, Mike, Neil Harmony, and Neil Harmony, Lily, and Kane they've made it to the studio. Devon isn't there. He's running late. He had a meeting. So they had to figure out a way to listen to song. None of them know how to work the equipment, so they finally figured out a way to work the song, to hear the song. They liked it. Kane and Lily started dancing to it, and Neil and Harmony kind of looked on. Nikki came back to Nikki. She had forgot her gloves, so she went back to get her gloves so that she can go riding, and she bumped into Victor. Daniel and Lucy were at the coffee house. Eden popped up, and they got to talking, and she asked him, was he nervous about tomorrow? And he got to talking to her about it, and then Ricky was looking on like sneaky, like he knew he was up to no good. So Phyllis and Nick get to talking about family, and Phyllis and Avery with the situation about their dad, and she wants to pull all her energy into Daniel and getting Lucy back. She doesn't want to be worried about Avery anymore. She no longer cares about her and Avery's relationship. It's just a done deal for her. Michael arrives back at the club because he forgot his credit card, and Avery is still there drinking, so they decide to go back and drinking again. He said, "Well, I don't have nothing else to do. My wife's out of town." And so they get to talking about how Victor's always calling him, and Avery talks about how Phyllis is always giving her a hard time, and they just drink and laugh and all that. Nikki and Victor talk. She said she came late to try to avoid him because he said, "What are you doing here so late?" And she said, I tried to avoid you." And so they argue about her being with Jack and him being with Jen, and he's like, you always, making mistakes and stuff like that." She said, "Are you talking about my drinking?" He said, "No, I'm not talking about your drinking. I'm talking about you being with Jack Abbott. What do you think I'm talking about?" So they, go back and forth, and she tells him she's going riding, so he needs to go somewhere else and ride. And so she tries to walk away, and he grabs her arm and turns her around. And he said, "You don't tell me where I ride. I ride with anywhere I please. He ride anywhere he please." So she snatches her arm away, and she walks off. Harmony is in the booth. She's singing and playing around, and they laughing and having a good time. Neil joins in the booth, and he starts singing. Phyllis and Nick are getting a little, touchy-feely. They getting romantic on the sofa, and goes back to Nikki. She's at the stable and she's limping. She fell off the horse, and so Victor comes in and help. And he was like, "I saw you fall. You okay?" And she said, "I wouldn't have fell if you wouldn't have been riding where I told you not to ride." And so he's like, "Let me see it." And she's like, "No, I don't want your help." And he's like, "Let me see it." And she said, "No, I'm fine. I'll be fine." And he said, "Oh, you so stubborn. You're always so stubborn." And Eden and Daniel talk about the custody battle, and Eden is filling up sugar jars for the coffee house. And so when they finish talking about the custody battle and how she think he's gonna do great and he's doing good and he's a good dad, and he never thought he had these feelings like he do. And she turns around, she's like, "Well, I got to go," and he said he had to go. So she turns around and she has the tray in her hand, and a guy bumped into her with the tray in her hand, and all the sugar jars fell everywhere in the glass, and they broke, and it was glass and everywhere. So Daniel stood up and he went over to make sure she was okay, but he left Lucy on the floor and she was crawling. And Eden said, "I'm fine, I'm okay." The guy was apologizing, and Eden said, "Keep Lucy away because there's a lot of glass everywhere." So when Daniel turned back around to get Lucy, she was gone. So it goes back to Nick and Phyllis, and they're kissing. They're about to get into their moment. And Daniel and Eden are looking all over for Lucy. He says he can't find her. He tells her to stay there, wait for the police. He's going to leave and look for her. Lucy's like, "It's okay. She's going to be fine." Excuse me, y'all. So he goes, "You don't have a daughter. I never thought I'd feel like this. This is my daughter here, and I never felt this way until now, and we've got to find her." So he calls Phyllis and tell her that Lucy is missing. She said, "Well, did you call the police?" And he said, "Yeah, I called the police." So they leave. They get ready they're putting their clothes back on, and they're getting ready to leave. Nick said, "I have to call Mike." So he calls Michael, and he and Avery are still at the athletic club drinking. And so he tells Michael and Avery leave. Phyllis is blaming herself, saying Lucy should have stayed with her. And, Nick says, "It's not your fault. Everything's going to be okay. We're going to find her." And her and Nick leave. Ricky has Lucy. He's giving her a cookie. He said, "Whenever you finish your cookie, we'll take you back to your dad. We just need a few more minutes." So it goes back to Kane, and now Kane is in the booth, and he's rocking the song out, and they're laughing and having a good time. And uh, they're laughing and having a good time. And Neil and Harmony, they get to dancing, and Lily looks suspicious at how they're, bonding. So Nikki thanks Victor. She tells him that she's still mad at him. And then they have a heart to heart. She wonders how he could be so sweet and so romantic sometimes and be so mean and hateful and brutal and do so much wrong the other times. And he sees that they should be a family, but why are they apart? So he keeps asking her, "Why aren't we together?" He said, "I love you, and you're the only one I want to be with, so why are we not together?" So Daniel gives the police his statement. The police showed up at the coffee house. He gives them his statement. Phyllis and Michael arrive, like, "Where is she? Who can we call? What can we do? Michael's, what's going on?" They're all bombarding Daniel with questions. And at that time, Ricky comes with Lucy in his arms, and it's like, "Oh, you found her. Thank you so much." Eden was telling him how great he was, and Phyllis is looking suspicious the whole time. So he lies and says that he sees he sees Lucy. He was coming up, or he was at his car, and he turned around and he sees this little baby, precious little thing, outside, which of course wasn't true. So Lily and Kane are getting ready to leave. And Harmony and Neil say they'll stay and lock up because Lily and Kane needed to go get the kids or whatever. And Lily has her suspicions about Neil and Harmony's bond, and she's questioning Kane about it. And he said, "No, I just think they just doing that." And he said, "Well," she said, "I don't know that kind of bond with Sophia and my dad that I do with Harmony and my dad. Sophia and my dad are just married because of the baby, but Harmony and my dad, they have no reason to, be bonding." So she's just kind of suspicious. Um, Neil and Harmony was like, "Well, give me one more dance," and it happens to be a slow dance, and they dancing and hugging, and they trying to fight temptation, and they end up kissing, y'all. Oh my God. I just knew that Devon or Sophia or Neil, or Lily and Kane was gonna come back in there or something. I didn't know what was gonna happen. I say, "Oh Lord, this is gonna be something." But anyway, Daniel talks to Lucy about being happy she's all right, and he wouldn't have known what he would have did if something would have happened to her. And so Michael said, "Well, this is gonna come up at the custody battle." And he was like, "Why? She's okay. It's nothing wrong." And Phyllis saying it's gonna come up because it was meant to happen. And Phyllis like, "This happened the day before the custody hearing. Somebody just accidentally bumps into Eden, and somebody just takes the baby, and she just comes back all of a sudden." He said that was planned. She said that was planned, and she kind of knew who planned it too. So Ricky gets on the phone with Daisy and says it's done. She's like, "I can't believe you did it." He said, "Well, I told you I was going to do it." He said, "I'm going to text you all the information and you just forward it to your lawyer." And she said, "Oh, I can't believe I'm going to have custody of my daughter. So Victor wraps Nikki's ankle. He tells her he loves her, and she never answered his question on why aren't they together. And he's like, "I love you, and that's all that matters." And she said, "It's the way you love that makes me not want to do this anymore. You don't love like you say you love. You love in a different way." So he says, "Well, okay then. She says, "That's why I can't do it anymore." And so he just leaves, and she calls out for him, but he doesn't come back. And that was today's episode, you guys, and a wrap. So it's Friday. We got through another week. I got through my second week. Sorry for some of the things that happened earlier this week where I couldn't get it up to the next day, or my kids were talking, or the rain cut me short. He's saying bye. So thank you so much, guys, for watching my channel. Please comment, like, subscribe, share, whatever it is. I'll be up here tomorrow to give you the spoilers for next week, tomorrow night probably. So thank you again for watching, and you guys have a great weekend. Okay, bye bye.